Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday. And on the menu for this Saturday, we have Alpha Mission 2. Originally released in 1991 for the NEO GEO, recently ported to the arcade archives on PlayStation 4. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. As we press start, we have to select our control type. Basically, the only differences between type A and type B are whether your laser and missile button are on the same button or if they're separate. For simplicity's sake, I like them on the same. Starting the game, we see that it's a relatively standard vertical scroller. We have these enemy pods coming at us that drop power-ups. There are a total of 4 main power-ups that we can get from those enemies. Power-ups for our speed, the S, our missiles, the M's, our lasers, the L's, and if we continue to shoot it, it becomes G, which is gold or money, however you want to calculate that. So a real quick note about our weaponry that we have. So our ship is equipped with both lasers and missiles, but they don't act the way that they do in a lot of shoot-'em-ups. The lasers are strictly anti-air, and our missiles are anti-ground. That comes into play especially with some of the later bosses, as we won't be able to hit the bosses with our lasers, but we can't hit them with our missiles. There's also a unique armor system in Alpha Mission 2. You can collect armor pieces throughout the course of the stages, denoted by various words, like at the moment we're collecting the home armor piece, or rather armor set. So as you see the armor pieces lying around, they'll be represented by the word that you're trying to collect. Ooh, fire. We will start collecting the fire armor instead of the home armor. You need 3 armor pieces to complete that armor set. Alternatively, it is possible to buy armor between stages. You'll note that when the armor shows up, there's a number associated with the armor itself. You need to collect those armor pieces in order to actually get the armor. So if you happen to see 2 homes, for example, and they both said home 1, you would actually only be able to collect one of those home pieces, because you have to collect home 1, home 2, home 3, and then you have the armor. To activate the armor, we go into that menu that the game has been bugging us about in the top left. Press C to open menu. Right now we have 3 armors: laser, side, and fire. You move between them annoyingly enough by moving your ship, so that gets a little frustrating. We'll go ahead and activate our laser armor. You can see there's a power-up, or rather a power gauge on the left side. That's the armor's energy. As we use the armor, that gauge depletes. The armor will also act as armor, where if we take a hit while it's currently activated, it will shield us from that hit rather than us dying right away, but it will take a significant amount of energy. It is possible to replenish the energy, as in armor mode, the vast majority of the power-ups will be replaced with E power-ups rather than the usual S, M's, and L's. You might have also seen K power-ups as well. The K power-up is a rather unique power-up that I'm a huge fan of. The K stands for keep, and that allows you to keep your current weapon power from one life to the next. So if you die, you won't get reset to base power. You'll have the same power you had when you died. Between stages, we have the ability to purchase armor. We can, as it says, replenish. So the 125, there's quite a bit I can buy. Just to make the boss fight of stage 2 simpler, I will take the shotgun armor, leaving me with 55. I could buy another, but the time in your shop is so limited, you would, even if you had a lot of gold, a lot of G, you might only be able to buy one, maybe 2 armors max before you're out of time, unless you just spam the button. Here we are in stage 2, flying over a nice blasted moonscape. So real quick, discussing the Arcade Archives port of Alpha Mission 2. I think it's a great engine. It seems to run really smooth with no noticeable issues. Definitely no complaints for me at this point. So stage 2 is actually one of those massive enemy battleship stages, and we see these parts that we've been fighting against for the last little bit of the stage combine and attach to a massive mothership. As we slowly blast off sections of it, we'll get to our mothership here in just a sec. I do like the fight in this stage, as you have to destroy sections of the ship in order to progress. So for that beginning section, we had to destroy the pods on either side, like this one right here that we're firing at. And that opens up these weak points. Destroy them all, and the part falls off. Back to the Arcade Archives engine that we're running on here. It provides some great control over the arcade game settings that are present for the title itself, as well as some neat display options. You can add scan lines or pixel smoothing if you want to go for different looks, but just the base engine they have provided, I think, works best from an aesthetic standpoint. There's also the ability to launch the game in either its Japanese configuration or its English configuration. An interesting thing to note, the Japanese default difficulty is set one level higher than the English default difficulty. A level 4 for the Japanese versus level 3 for English. Running on the assumption that Japanese gamers are used to a higher difficulty than English, or specifically American gamers. Definitely unsurprising for the time. So we're nearly done with the exterior section of stage 2. We're fighting these weird, or rather dodging these weird laser projectors. And we've now come to the end of the ship. We pause here for a little while. I'm assuming, considering our options, moving back over the ship, the enemies decided they want to have a word with us as well, and in we go. So you might have noticed with the power-ups that the power-ups I'm receiving now are upside down S's, L's, and M's. They look very much like W's. Those power-ups will actually reduce the respective weapon or power-up, in the current case of the speed, by 1 level if we pick those up. There are also other power-ups that can be found throughout the course of the game that will remove an armor or warp you back several screens. Or you can also get lucky and get ones that will warp you forward several screens. So my overall thoughts on Alpha Mission 2. At first glance, it seems like a relatively generic and bland shoot 'em up that you might not really give attention to. But playing the game for a little bit, there's actually some decent depth to the systems, specifically the armor systems that are present throughout the course of the game. It does have an arcade level difficulty, so prepare to lose a lot of lives, especially your first several runs through. So closing thoughts, the armor system is one of the best plus flavors that this title has. Being able to combine together and use various armors throughout the course of the stage is a fun and strategic system to the title itself. Here, we were able to combine together a nuclear armor. If I had gotten impatient and started picking up a different set of armor icons, that might not have come to fruition. But as far as minus flavors are concerned, the game definitely sports a more old school arcade difficulty, which especially the first several outings you take with the title might get frustrating. Also, the inability for all your weapons to hit an enemy can be a little bit of a problem. The boss of Stage 2, for example, can only be hit by ground-based weaponry. So, fortunately, our missiles are currently at full power. That helps quite a bit. And we purchased the awesome shotgun armor specifically to deal large amounts of damage to him, which isn't going to happen as he went off screen. Also, the enemies themselves are a little bland in their design. That one's not going to work. Overall, though, with the great port in the Arcade Archives version and the unique systems that Alpha Mission 2 does bring to the table, I think it's a title that's worth your attention. So as always, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining me today for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.